Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you all to our webinar, Navigating the Broadcom Transition, Proven Solutions for VMware Customers, hosted by Advisex and Nutanix. As previously stated, this is a panel discussion. We will be answering questions we received from the survey that was sent out prior to this meeting today, as well as answering any questions that may arise during our discussion. We will keep everyone muted during the discussion, so please use the chat box to ask your questions, and we'll be sure to cover them as we go. This will be recorded and sent out after the meeting, and I will be reaching out to you all after the call today to confirm your address for your Patagonia jacket. So please be on the lookout for that. Today, we are being joined by Michelle Rotschafer and Ron Trimble from the Nutanix team and Patrick Stasko from the Advisex team. I'm going to hand it off to Patrick now, so please take it away, Patrick.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here. Real pleasure and honor to be kind of co-presenting with a panel discussion with Nutanix here. We do want to keep this interactive, so there is a question and a chat area where you can go ahead and submit your questions. As Tori already said, we've received a lot of those, so this is going to be an open forum discussion, and kind of hear it from the experts and what we're seeing from our customers, but also to see it from Nutanix perspective as well. So the very reason for this discussion, let's kick it off, grill in the room, is, what are you hearing from your customers regarding the Broadcom VMware conversations? And so, what I will say, I'll go ahead and jump in. I'll kick it over to Ron and Michelle here, is just that there is a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. I think we're all aware of. We're seeing a lot of price hikes, and a lot of folks have kind of continued down some of the VMware journeys, but more of a long-term strategy is how do we kind of augment and have a strategy around a multi-vendor approach. And so when we look at feature parity comparison, there's no better market leader than Nutanix. And so I'm seeing that regardless of vertical size, organization, and a company perspective. And I'd love to hear what Ron and Michelle are seeing as well.
Sure, I'll jump in. I obviously that is the pointed question that I think kicks this off very well. I typically see three approaches to the broader question of what were you seeing with Broadcom, right? VMware is there's some that are, we're so integrated with VMware, we need to stay the course, we need to find a way through this with them. In the middle, we're like, maybe, and it's that curiosity point where we're seeing that disruption, we're seeing the uncertainty be created. We want to explore alternatives that are out there in the market, what's going to serve us best, whether it be an entire uplift or some integration of new platforms, right? And it's more of that consultative approach that we rely on our partners like Advisex to bring those conversations back, right? To remove some of that emotional turmoil that comes with a situation like this, and level set with customers to make sure that we're approaching this from that holistic, what's our best approach? And I think Nutanix has a really good story around that. And then, of course, we have those customers like, we're completely done. Please tell us how we can, as quickly as possible, move to Nutanix and or an alternative platform outside of Broadcom.
Yeah, Michelle, if you don't mind me piggyback off that just a little bit. In my former role, as you know, I was a cloud architect for a very large global corporation. We built some very large private clouds, and they were all built on VMware's ESXi, right? We went back probably a good almost 15 years at this point of using VMware. So I'm a longtime user, certified myself. And I think it's really important for people to kind of be a little more nuanced with their language around, Broadcom and VMware, right? VMware is a software solution, still a fantastic solution. Lots of our customers still run it. And companies that are staying there, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. I like to, when I'm speaking to customers, remind them that, hey, no matter what your thoughts are of VMware, Broadcom is the one who ultimately brought this pain on the customers, right? Broadcom bought VMware, and they're inflicting these price pains on their customers. Of these, probably what we'll see in the future is a lack of support. We've already seen them moving towards, distribution models in order to support their customers, changing things there, changing release schedules. So those types of complexities start to come in the picture. But again, I just want to be careful here. I'm not here to throw stones at VMware. They're still a partner of ours, right? We can still gladly run VMware software on the Nutanix platform. No issues at all. It's always been supported since day one. But I do want to just, point out that there is a separation there, right? Broadcom brought this on VMware, and I just want people to know that before we even get started on our conversation, that if we screw up and say VMware, right, it's not our animosity is not with VMware. It is most certainly with Broadcom, and in the company I used to work for. After some early software acquisitions they made, the company I worked for moved to a no Broadcom policy, right? We would not buy software from them due to some of the practices they had around that. So, but yeah, it is definitely, like you said, Patrick, the elephant in the room, right? Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I figured, just rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? Kind of, so, and I guess kind of, going off that there's another question that comes to mind here is, when you have a customer that says, that has made that policy, say, hey, we are looking at alternatives. What are some of the key factors that you're looking for, whether it's technically, architecturally, what are those, key aspects that says, hey, actually, Nutanix would be a viable solution. You should seriously consider looking at that. Where does, it's going to be a really broad question, but we'll see where you take it. Training and the day two operations,
Sure.
Are those considerations, and what does that look like? What makes a transition successful, and also what makes a transition maybe not possible either?
Sure. Michelle, if you don't mind, I'll jump in on this one first, just because I've been at Nutanix a little bit longer than Michelle.
I could see you jumping.
Yeah, right. So we'll break that question into several parts here, and keep me on track, Patrick, if I forget one of the pieces. The first one you asked about was, what are we looking for in a solution, right, for customers who have VMware, in terms of, maybe feature comparisons, enterprise worthiness, things like that. And I think from a Nutanix perspective, running AHV, Nutanix's AHV versus VMware's ESXi, I think you're going to find right away that it is a full-featured enterprise-grade application. AHV just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, which is huge. Most customers don't even know that AHV has been around that long. So that 10 years, that decade of development has gone into that product to achieve feature parity with VMware's ESXi. I know when I came to Nutanix 6 years ago, we used to keep charts of what features we had versus what VMware had, and we maintained those quite in quite detailed manner, so that our customers could have them, our partners could have them, and know what they're talking about. We don't maintain those anymore. We like to think that 2-3 years ago we hit feature parity. That was it. There's nothing VMware has that we can't do in one way or another. So that's one way of looking at it, right? In terms of looking at the enterprise space and where Nutanix plays with AHV, we've got over 1,000 supported partner solutions at this point, right? Everything from the biggest players, the Epics, the Meditechs, the SAP HANAs, all fully run on the Nutanix platform, right? And to get to that level with databases of those sizes and those demands really does speak to the level of integration with the enterprise apps that are out there that businesses rely on. And of course, those are in the healthcare space. But if you're in a manufacturing space or whatever it is, telecom, we've got broad ecosystem relationships across the board. So those are all listed on our webpage for anybody who might want to go and check those out, right? But like I said, over 1,000 solutions at this point. The final point I'd make in regards to all this is the adoption rate. Our customers have been speaking over the years. When I started at Nutanix, like I said, 6 years ago, the AHV adoption rate was in the low 30 percentile. If my memory serves me correct, I think it was 34% when I started at Nutanix, was the percentage of our customers running AHV. Now we fast forward to today, and it'll probably even be updated with the end of our quarter tomorrow. But we're currently standing at 74% adoption of Nutanix's AHV. That's across the board. That's really unheard of. Nutanix isn't a small player in this space anymore. With over 26,000 customers, and 74% of those are now adopting AHV as a hypervisor. It really does speak to the fact that it's a full enterprise platform capable of supporting even the most demanding customers. And of course, we've got customers in the, Fortune 500, the Fortune 100, the Fortune 10. Like our customers exist in all those spaces from the very largest to the smallest. And we're not seeing any issues, right? I think the last thing I would point out is for customers that are looking for other solutions is to really look into, customer satisfaction with that platform and support. Those are obviously key, right? Because yes, you may be able to find a solution that might be, I don't know, I'll just throw, open source. It's free, right? I'll just go get that. Great. When I was an enterprise architect, there's no way on earth I would do that because, what am I going to do when something fails off hours? We need help. Who's going to help us? Who's going to solve our problems? It really does speak to what Nutanix puts back into our support. Our NPS score, currently sits at greater than 90, and it's been that way for over 8 years. Try and find another product in your daily life that has an NPS score of greater than 90. It's just unheard of. And it really speaks to customers' confidence in Nutanix, ability to recommend the solution, and the support that backs it up, that is not going to let them fail, that is there for them at every turn. So, I don't know, Michelle, did you have anything you wanted to go there? I think I hit all the points, but.
I'll say a couple of things. Kind of piggyback off of that. Number one, just to hit on the NPS score real briefly, is that the part of that I love that the NPS score is 90 plus points is that number has been consistent for over the years. And that means that we have maintained that, not just from that startup perspective, but through the years of updating our platform, through integrations, to application enhancements, and being able to service our customers at that high of a level over the years really speaks to the dedication that we bring to the table for our customers once they become Nutanix customers. Alternatively, and as far as the day two look and feel, is there a lot of learn? I recently had an opportunity to watch somebody come in and join one of our boot camps, which I can give a brief overview of what those are if there's interest there. But what they did was come in with no experience with Nutanix. They were firm VMware, actually had a lot of preconceived ideas that the management, the interface was going to be clunky and not user-friendly. And I think he said afterwards, and he was very candid, which we love, came out on the other side saying, I thought this was going to be really terrible. I thought it was going to be really hard for me because I've been in the VMware world for so long. And he said that wasn't the case at all. He's like, it was very intuitive, outside of the color purple, which we favor over what VMware uses. Really, the look and feel of Nutanix and being able to manage from one pane of glass is pretty easy to use, and I'd argue is an easier uplift than some other platforms that you might be looking at as an alternative there.
And Michelle, I'm glad you brought that, Patrick. If you don't mind, I'll interject one thing that Michelle wouldn't have known this. It was before her time, but our founder and CEO, Dheeraj Pandey, used to always talk about a delightful experience. And that was what he stressed from our development teams, right? He wanted everything that people did within the Nutanix to be delightful. That was his favorite word. And so he would always say, if the user interface was too, jumbled, you couldn't find something, then it was wrong. Fix it, make it obvious. And, the analogy I like to use with my customers is, talking to them about, it's as simple as picking up, like, say, an iPhone, right? You don't need training on how to use it. You just pick it up and intuitively you can figure out, okay, that's the app for this. I just open that app and you'll figure it out. Give it 30 seconds, right? And Nutanix's interface really does have that same kind of feel. Everything is where you think it should be. And when you go and attempt the operation, you'll see it's exactly as you'd expect. So a lot has been spent on making sure that user interface is nice and clean and things are logically placed. And so I think it speaks to those day two operations, really. It makes it a simple tool to pick up and adopt.
Yeah, if I recall, and this maybe was a number of years ago, but I believe that there was a design guiding principle that everything was either like 2 or 3 clicks away within the UI in terms of the management plane from the creation of the ecosystem and the platform, that all the 95% of common tasks are just literally 2 to 3 clicks away at any given point. So yeah, really compelling. Obviously, that plays in your net promoter score as well. When we talk about hypervisor, transitions, AHV, VMware, if we rewind time with Zen Server, now with hyperscalers, everything has to go through an image conversion process. I understand you have full support of that. Can you talk about maybe what a VMware customer transitioning into a Nutanix platform could look like? Maybe they want to still run VMware. Maybe they want to convert to AHV. Can you kind of guide kind of our the folks on the line of what that may look like?
Michelle, you want to pick this one up, and I could fill in the technical details if people would like to hear those, right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'll start and then you can fill in the gaps for me here. So, as far as those that are starting, looking at moving into a Nutanix platform, if they're still wanting to run VMware, absolutely, right? We came to market day one, fully partnered with VMware. We still have a very strong integration that's still being developed. So if there are certain workloads that we want to move into the Nutanix platform, keep them on VMware, that is a seamless integration, right? We have tools for that, and I'm going to have Ron take that piece of it in a minute. But also giving that versatility of I have workloads that I need to start exploring other ways to or to manage them, moving them over to AHV and having a dual vendor strategy, right? We talked about that a little bit. Patrick, you alluded to that earlier. This is that customer choice that we go to market with, and this is the way that we do it, right? Nutanix offers that ability to run a VMware environment, Kubernetes environments fully supported, and AHV if they want to move it over to that as well.
Yeah, great setup, Michelle. And you used the word move a whole bunch of times. So there's no loss for this. For the customers on the call, Nutanix's migration utility is actually called Move. You can download this for free right from the Nutanix webpage. And it allows you to move your virtual machines from one place to another. And not only can we say, grab a virtual machine from like say VMware and migrate it over to Nutanix's AHV, and it does a conversion for you, does all the copies, the data seeding, all that stuff. Takes care of it. It's a great, beautiful user interface. It makes things very, very simple. We can even do things like pull things out of the public cloud. And I'll give you an example. In my former job, this is going back a good number of years, probably 10 years at this point. We started placing things in the public cloud, right? At the heyday of like people saying, oh, well, I need to get into the public cloud, I need to get there. So we shifted some applications and workloads there. And we very quickly found out that those applications were costing us way more than we anticipated, right? And I think that's a common thing that people see, right? And that's shown by the research studies that show the amount of data that's being repatriated back down into private data centers. Probably cost is a reason, security, maintaining compliance is probably another reason, but there's various reasons. But we can actually grab your virtual machine instances out of the public cloud and bring those back down on-prem as well, using this very same utility. It's really simple to use. A couple clicks, you could have it set up. When you enter the utility, it's a little appliance that you deploy. You simply give it some targets, right? And by targets, I mean sources and destinations. It doesn't matter which one is which. If it supports, multiple directions, we can, a source can become a target can become a source. It does not matter. But once you have those things set up, you simply set up a migration plan. Tell, groups of virtual machines, you could do that kind of thing together. So if you need a full stack, you can move a whole stack of virtual machines at the same time. Set them up, let it seed the data, and when time comes to cut over, you simply click the button and say migrate now, right? Or do the conversion in place. What's really great about the utility is that data seeding is happening in the background. Using some other tools that are out there on the market right now, your downtime is very large because that downtime includes all the time it takes to copy over the data. Whereas the Nutanix Move utility is doing those synchronizations of data in the background. So when it's time to do a cutover, you simply, tell it to do the migration. It will offline your source, do one final snapshot of the data over to the destination, and then bring the destination online, right? So very minimal amount of time that is needed to actually do that cutover. So for customers that are very conscious of how much downtime they're taking, this is a great option. And the really nice thing is to, suppose you get that new application over there on your destination, and I don't know, I'll make up a scenario. You forgot another VM that needs to go with it, so it's not functioning the way you need it, right? Happens all the time. We've all done it. We didn't think of all the we didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's. It's really easy to just go back the opposite direction. You just power off the new destination virtual machine, power your source back up, and away you go. Like nothing has changed. So very easy and simplified way to do migrations, as you'd probably expect from Nutanix, right? We're always trying to make things easy. And I think it is important to point out, as Michelle said, Nutanix is never trying to lock you into a particular platform or anything like that. You know, if you want to come from VMware to ESXi or VMware's ESXi over to Nutanix's AHV, we can do that easily. You want to come from the public cloud to Nutanix, great. You want to go back up to the public cloud or move from cloud to cloud?
We lost your audio.
Sorry, Michelle, it still says I'm connected.
You're good. I can hear
I'm
you.
good, Patrick? Okay.
Okay, sorry. That might have been
yeah, no
me.
worries. Those are all options with Nutanix Move, right? The goal is not to lock our customers into a particular, you know, just Nutanix environment, but we can help them move from place to place using this very same utility. I should point out, Patrick, there are other options too for customers that are just looking to say, like, do an in-place upgrade. Let's just say they're running Nutanix with VMware's ESXi today. They got their renewal from Broadcom, not happy with the price. Well, you've probably already paid for Nutanix's AHV hypervisor because it's included with our purchases. You can actually do an in-place conversion of your cluster. So that's one option for your customers. And then there's a few other, you know, like third-party utilities. We can do all kinds of things with backups and restores. There's lots of options out there for your customers, but I like to recommend Move. It is, you know, a piece of cake.
Yeah, that, you know, you said a couple things, you know, both of you, about, you know, the hyperscalers, the public cloud, right? And we're kind of seeing Kubernetes and Docker and containerization kind of start to really, I think, ramp up more because of this, you know, Broadcom VMware acquisition. Talk to me a little bit about Kubernetes. Obviously, it's supported, but, you know, talk about that vision within like the Nutanix framework, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, whether it's a VM or it's a, you know, a container or a BSD jail, if we're going back some time, it's process isolation. You talk a little bit more about that within your platform.
Ron, I'm going to have you.
Sure, no
Jump
worries
in.
at all. I was
Thank
going to
you.
give you an opportunity to jump in here, but yeah, Nutanix platform fully supports, as Michelle noted early on, right? Kubernetes is fully supported on the Nutanix platform. We recently acquired a company called D2iQ. It's now fully integrated into what we call NKP, or the Nutanix Kubernetes platform. That's fully there as well. If you want to just run, you know, you have your own Kubernetes deployments somewhere else. Maybe you've got something up in the public cloud, or you've got an on-prem deployment already set up. Nutanix actually has a Kubernetes management piece that can go over top of all that. Why do we do that? Because as it exists today, you're managing all those as silos, right? Let's just say you have one in EKS, you have another one, you got, you know, Docker deployed on-prem with Kubernetes on top of that. They're all being managed separately, and there's no commonalities between them, right? So Nutanix can actually come in, put a management layer across all of those, and connect to all of those different Kubernetes clusters for you, and start managing those as a single cohesive unit, right? So you can actually do things like moving containers from one place to another easily, right? Not having to worry about, oh, well, these are the policies in this silo, and in this silo it's somehow different, right? Having consistent RBAC, having consistent methods of backing up, you know, all those data protection is a huge piece of our Kubernetes platform, right? Because now, well, I'll go back in time, right? When containerization came on the scene, all data was seen as ephemeral, right? It could go away and nobody cared. We just spin up a new container. But as we've continued down the containerization path, it's more becoming like a replacement for VMs, where data happens to live, right? That we need to protect that data. So the Nutanix platform actually gives you that option to protect that data, right? When you layer all these pieces together, now you have a full Kubernetes deployment on Nutanix with full data protection underneath that. That gives you disaster recovery options, replication options, full backups, immutable snapshots, things like that are going to protect your data. But we give you you know, that management piece on top that will help you bring consistency and common operations across all of your Kubernetes stacks, no matter where they may be deployed, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, or even at the edge for customers that are deploying, you know, small stacks at the edge.
Perfect. Hey, just you know, just want to let folks know the questions are open. Just as a quick reminder, if there's anything that, you know, we've kind of discussed that you want us to deep dive into, If you click, there's a little Q&A. Just go ahead and ask your question. We'll make sure we all get that and address your question. So just a friendly housekeeping reminder there. I want to dive into the Nutanix ecosystem, right? I hate to frame it always about Broadcom and VMware, but just to, it's a common point where people are familiar with, and to educate those that may not be familiar with going forward. It was a very robust community. They had the VMware user group. There was an extensive partner ecosystem of, backup platforms, security vendors, and integrations with a very broad ecosystem. In a lot of ways, that was kind of the Switzerland of, you had the freedom of choice, right? I'd like to hear maybe a little bit about, your partner ecosystem, your guys' user group, some of the workshops, and kind of just the overall, I guess, robustness of an ecosystem. Because generally what we see with these deployments, they're generally never greenfield and always almost brownfield, right? They're either an expansion or replacement or just organic growth for workloads within the data center, or repatriation, as addressed from the cloud back down. So I guess, talk about the Nutanix ecosystem.
I'll start there, and I think it actually sparked the conversation that Ron had said earlier, as far as there was those features and functionalities that we were always noting as soon as a new feature added on, right? We were like, yay, we have 100 features or whatever. And I think that the same could be said historically for our ecosystem, right? And now we are well over 900 successful and trusted partners within our ecosystem, where we can't keep track of them like that anymore, right? And if there is something, that's where those conversations is something that there is in question, right? Ron had kind of gone through all of the database options and healthcare touch Epic, right? If there's very specific needs within a customer environment, that's where those conversations with our Nutanix field, as well as the partnership with advisors, can come in and really have those specific conversations. If there's questions about, will this work, and has it been tested, and is it a true integration, we can come in and make sure that we're checking those boxes for you. But ultimately, that list is growing and continues to grow because of this higher interest and curiosity surrounding Nutanix, and wanting to be kind of on our bandwagon at this point. Is that there is a lot to be said about what Nutanix can bring to the table, and people want to be a part of that.
No, you're spot on, Michelle. The solutions are there, right? No matter what space our customers are looking in, they're almost certainly to find Nutanix support for that solution. Obviously, the major ones come first, right? So if you're using a tiny little piece of software that nobody else in your industry has heard about, then the odds of support are probably pretty low. It may work, but I'm not certain. But always check with your partner. This is where Advisix can come in and add that value, right? They are literally called a value-added reseller, right? Their job is to help you identify these things, find any shortcomings that you might have, or maybe gaps that you didn't think of when planning out architecture for the future, right? They're seeing the trends. They're staying on top of those things and saying, we see a majority of our customers moving in this direction, right? So that's where Advisors can really help you guys. Rest assured, we've got broad ecosystem support at this point. Nutanix is not a new company, right? AHV has been around 10 years. Nutanix as a company has been around, I think we're at 16 years. 16 years. It's been a very long time. So it's not as if we're a new company. It's just come onto the scene, right? I do know of other solutions that are out there trying to fill the void, right, that Broadcom is creating with this VMware turmoil. And I chuckle to myself sometimes when I'm chatting with a customer and they say, "Oh, I was thinking about deploying X solution." I'm like, "Oh, really? I don't think that's a great option there, right? What are you going to do for support? What other partners are they working with? What is their platform like? What if something goes wrong, right?" And I think those things all play in. So that broad ecosystem support really just plays into the complete picture of Nutanix as an enterprise-ready solution, right? So
awesome. We did get a question in rumors are that Nutanix may open third-party storage platforms. Are you able to provide any insight into this? And I think has been some recent announcements with Dell, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe if you can launch into that.
I will
Sure.
I could take the Dell one, and then we can collectively answer anything above and beyond that. So we are very tightly aligned with Dell. At this point, we have our XC Plus, which is the Nutanix platform in their HCI go-to-market. So you can find that solution already within the Dell ecosystem and supported by Dell. And then we are coming out with PowerFlex integration as well. And you'll start to see that hopefully by the end of February. We all know how those full GAs happen, but the plan there is in February. Now, as far as that integration goes, it is hand in hand, right? There is no piecemealing. The Nutanix AHV out, it comes with the full licensing. So we are not yet at that point with the Dell solutions that we are supporting third-party storage outside of that full NCI or our Nutanix software package. So, and I don't know, Ron, if you want to
Michelle,
talk about the third.
yeah, you did a great job choosing all your words carefully, and I could hear it in your speech that we're all trying to be very careful with what we say around this, right? Because obviously there's NDAs in place around a lot of things. Dell PowerFlex is the one we're absolutely able to talk about, right? That's broadcast all over our webpage. You've seen big announcements from that. The Dell PowerFlex solution will be an IP-based solution, right? So it's not a SAN-based solution. We're not looking to hook up external SANs. So that IP-based storage is certainly going to be key going forward. So I think if you were to look for other solutions, you would be looking for IP-based solutions. I can't comment, honestly, Patrick. I would love to say I would. On other solutions, people can probably read between the lines. The rumors are out there, right? People are starting to think about this. I would say for anybody interested who wants to get the absolute latest on Nutanix, wants to be at the forefront, sign up for our .next conference coming up in May. It's here on the East Coast this year. It's in Washington, D.C. It's a great opportunity to actually get in front of our product managers, our executives, whoever it might be, like-minded customers. It's a huge user conference where you guys can go and attend and learn all about Nutanix. And I would expect that probably more information may be coming around that time, in terms of announcements, right? I mean, that's the way all companies function, right? You save all the goodies for your conferences. So, yeah. Sorry, Patrick, we can't really.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
It's
out there, and that's totally okay. I do want to make two different comments that, at least from a trends from a partner perspective, at least that I'm seeing. One of them is kind of the decrease of the demand of fiber channel. I think just recently, and it's very nuanced, but within the HPE product portfolio, within their Synergy Blade platforms going forward, certain modules won't be supporting native fiber channel in the conversion of FCOE. With Ethernets, one could say 100 gig is very mainstream, but we're seeing 200, 400, 800 gig Ethernet, and the price of that silicone, we're seeing a really huge uptick on IP-based SAN traffic, just because the line speeds and feeds with NVMe over TCP, or ROCE and RDMA, like all those different technologies that help reduce that latency from an IP transit protocol. So from a partner perspective, we are definitely seeing IP-based storage. Granted, there still is a strong FC base, especially those folks that have invested in those director level switches. We are definitely seeing the top of rack or departmental fiber channel switches really have a real hard look at Ethernet based SAN traffic that's external. The second comment that I do want to comment on is with Nutanix. We mentioned the Dell partnership. Nutanix provides not just software, but also hardware as an entire appliance or an ecosystem. For customers that are, thinking about Nutanix, is you can actually have the freedom of choice with Nutanix on the hardware. Michelle mentioned the XC platform on Dell, but there is formal support and co-engineered with Cisco, HPE, Lenovo, and Fujitsu. Meaning that if you have ILO or OneView and you have certain processes, or maybe it's Dell Open Manage and how you do firmware management and baselining, alerting and reporting, you can choose a vendor that you are familiar with and already have an ecosystem with, so that you're not, having to have a hardware choice you're forced into a particular hardware that you may actually want. You always have the branded Nutanix nodes, which are white labeled but fully supported through Nutanix, both from a hardware parts depot perspective and software as well. So just wanted to make that delineation, is that there is a freedom of choice when it comes to the hardware that it lands on. Absolutely. I guess, with that kind of being said, any additional comments on those sentiments?
No, I think we touched on this a little bit, Patrick. Like Nutanix, it's been mentioned multiple times. It's really all about choice, right? We're giving them choice at the hardware level, at the hypervisor level, right? We've got customers running VMware, we've got customers running Hyper-V, HV. It doesn't matter to Nutanix, right? We're giving you choice of clouds. Where do you want to, do you want to move to cloud? Great, you could do that on Nutanix as well, right? Bring consistent operations to your cloud space. So you're not having to, we manage our Amazon stuff over here, and we manage our Azure stuff with this team, right? Those are all silos that exist within organizations today, especially at larger customers where we've got whole teams dedicated to just those infrastructures. Nutanix brings consistent operations to all of those, and it doesn't matter to us where you take those. And in most cases, those licenses are fully portable from one place to another. It doesn't matter. Once you make an investment in Nutanix, your licenses will follow you, even if you're, your future plans are all public cloud, right? You could make a purchase today, have on-prem licenses and migrate those into the public cloud, which gives you great options, for moving into the future, right? Nutanix is giving you choice at your level of how your platform level. What do you want to deploy? Virtual machines? Do you want to deploy containers? How do you want this? Nutanix is giving choices at every step of the way, and never once telling a customer, no, you can't do it that way. It's all about choice, right? Giving the broadest spectrum of possibilities within a platform, right? And I think that also speaks to the features we bring to the platform. Maybe today all you want is on-prem HCI. Great, we do that. We've been doing that for, it's, I think, since we started selling HV, like 14 years now. So we can absolutely do that today. We will knock that out of the park for you. And you're not sure, maybe I want to do containers in the future. Great. Well, invest in Nutanix, because we're still going to give you that option. You can go ahead and deploy that on your existing Nutanix infrastructure. You want to move things to the public cloud? Great, we'll give you that option as well. Most of these things are deployed automatically from within Nutanix infrastructure. When you tell it, I want to move into the public cloud, 40 minutes later, you can be migrating workloads in the public cloud right from your Nutanix platform. So that simplicity that Nutanix brings, and the choice, work together to give our customers the most options, where you're not having to reach out and contact your rep about maybe buying more licenses, or trying to figure out how to plan for the future, or buying different software packages. With Nutanix, it's one package, right? And for the most part, maybe you need to add on a small license here or there to enable different features, but those are always there and always options for you. We make it really simple.
Yeah, and actually that really dovetails into my next question, is that I wanted to really try to address, how does Nutanix, address some of the operational challenges, right? I think you said some of those additional features. I'm thinking about Nutanix files. I'm thinking about the DB service, right? Can you talk about some of those additional offerings, and also the lifecycle management as well, to really address that day two operations? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Michelle, you want to tackle this one, or would you like me to?
I'm going to have you start on it, but I'll fill in the gaps on it.
Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, Patrick. So as you mentioned, Nutanix has got a broad portfolio of add-on solutions to the base platform itself, right? So we have actually two pillars within our platform. One's called NCI, Nutanix Cloud Infrastructure. The other is called Nutanix Cloud Management, or NCM for short. NCI is everything you'd expect from a traditional virtualized platform, right? The management of the virtual machines, the networking, all that fun stuff, the storage. And NCM is very much the overlay piece, right? The automation, the management pieces, the cost analysis, all of those pieces come from the NCM features. Now, together, once we start building out that platform a little bit larger, as you mentioned, you could add on things like Nutanix Unified Storage, which brings you files, blocks, and object-level storage to your Nutanix platform. So maybe today you have a standalone file service sitting out there, a NAS attached to your environment, and somebody manages that, and you never consider that part of your virtualized environment. We're giving you the opportunity to bring that right on the Nutanix platform and give you a fully scalable solution in which to go ahead and deploy that, right? The file side of things does both SMB and NFS protocols, right? We move over to the object side. It's S3 compatible storage. So for anybody moving towards the future of containers, most of those modern day apps or modern apps are using S3 storage, unstructured storage. Is your enterprise ready, or is your business ready to meet the needs of modern applications, right? Nutanix gives that option right there. And the best thing about that solution is if you're in files today and you are moving towards unstructured storage and S3 later, those licenses don't care where the data lies, right? So as you draw down your files usage and spin up your Unified or your S3 usage, no problem. You're still licensed for that. Again, Nutanix giving you choice at every step of the way, right? You also mentioned our database solution for customers that have, large database deployments. I was a DBA in my former job as well, and it was very, it was a time-intensive job, and there's a lot of concerns around databases in terms of who has access, what happens to those files after you provide them, and how quickly you can do all those things. Let me give you a few examples. A common task in my old job would be to provide a copy of a database to our development teams. Now, I was in a development environment, and other teams might be working on something. I need a copy of our a current database. So we couldn't let them run in the production database for obvious reasons, but I could make a copy of them. So I would then proceed to copy off a 60 gigabyte database. I don't need to tell you how long that'll take to back up in Microsoft SQL. It takes a long time. Once I wrote that to disk, it's now consuming disk space, a lot of it. And nobody ever puts their databases on the slowest disk you have in your environment, right? It's always your most expensive disks. So there in my databases, I've got copies of databases sitting there in places they don't need to be, just taking up space, and it's maybe for a couple people. The second thing that happens there is I've now lost control of that data. There's no management around that. I don't know who else might have access. If there's sensitive data inside of there, is that data masked? No, because I didn't take the steps to mask any data. What if somebody else should get access to it and it leaves our site, right? So there's a whole lot of security concerns, space concerns, operational concerns about how can I make this happen. With Nutanix database solution or database as a service, we actually solve all those problems, right? In terms of solving for space. We're curating 0-byte clones of databases. So if a development team needs a copy of the database, great. I can go ahead and provide it as a 0-byte clone. Now, if they make changes to it, right, those writes are going to take up space. But initially, that database is near zero, right? It's very small. It's just a pointer back to an original database. We're now solving for who has access to it, because that's all built into the interface, right? I know who has access. I can also push updates to that clone. So I don't need to have 10 copies of that database for 10 different groups. I can just simply have one out there, point everybody to it, and continuously synchronize the data to a secondary copy, right? And the last thing that our product's really going to do, or two further things, one is bring management around that entire structure. So if you're, needing to do database updates, right? Microsoft drops the latest service pack for SQL. We can actually create, images within our database program and allow you to roll those out to your environment. It's just like when you're in your iPhone and you get a notification, hey, there's a new version of the app. We actually publish those within our database as a service application, and you can notify the database administrators. There's a new version of this database, engine. Do you want to upgrade now? Yes, they can just go ahead and select that, and it will go ahead and migrate their databases for them. The other thing we're doing is bringing consistent operations to the database space. It doesn't matter if you're running SQL, Postgres, MySQL, Mongo. There's a whole list of databases Nutanix supports. Deploying Oracle RAC, right? Deploying any one of those databases is exactly the same within Nutanix Database as a Service. You're giving the normal operational procedures, right? Give me IP addresses, what virtual machines you want, what specs they want, usernames, passwords, all that kind of stuff. It gathers all that and just does the deployment for you. A common demo I used to do when this product came out, and this is huge, right? As a Microsoft DBA, formerly myself, deploying an always-on availability group was a very difficult thing. It was usually you made a mistake here or there, right? And you'd have to go back and start over and do it again. I could deploy an entire always-on availability group with my primary copy local, secondary copy on the West Coast, and a third copy in Europe, and provide synchronous replication between my US locations, asynchronous to Europe, and I could have that all online and ready to go, usually in about 20 minutes. The system just takes care of the entire deployment for you. So really great options for anybody who's got a large investments in databases or have complexities around database. You might want to look into that tool as well. So great call out, Patrick. Thank you for bringing those up in terms of add-on solutions for the Nutanix platform. Of course, we've got others too. EUC solutions there. We've already mentioned Kubernetes, AI. I'm sure we'll get to in a second, but we've got lots of solutions that all add on to the product. Michelle, did I miss anything there?
I think you mentioned NC2. I think it might have cut out from an audio perspective for me, just being able to integrate into the cloud, which obviously we have mentioned several times already. And just again, adding in from a base perspective, it's about choose your own adventure almost. What kind of an experience do you want within your data center? Nutanix can likely deliver that for you with less complexity.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We have another question that came in, just a time check. We got about 14 minutes. We're coming down to the questions that people have already submitted. So if you have some additional ones, we'd love to hear from you. But can you provide a brief overview of FinOps as a service and why I might consider this solution? So FinOps as a service is a new acronym for me, and that is the financial operations with cloud computing to optimize cloud spend and improve financial accountability.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one if you don't mind, Michelle, just because I'm a little familiar with the space. I'm not a FinOps person myself. I work in the channel, but some of our largest customers are very large banks here in the United States, right? We're seeing that across the board. There's tremendous demand from our financial customers. There's they're not referenceable, so I'll just say everybody in this room is probably, or everybody on this call probably has a credit card in their wallet from some of our major customers, right? Same thing with banks. There's a high likelihood that you are probably banking with some of our customers, right? Everything from the largest banks that you can name, the big name brands, are Nutanix customers, right down to your local credit unions. We've got great integration, in that space. Great solutions. I would recommend that if that was something you really want to talk about, by all means, please reach out to Advisix. They'll link you up with, some Nutanix reps and people who are experts in those solutions and help guide you wherever your questions might want to go. I should point out too, that for those banks that don't have mandates to keep their data on-prem, we can move straight into the public cloud as well. We actually just had a major customer come on board about a year ago, and they were looking to go all public cloud. And that bank actually ended up standardizing on Nutanix in the public cloud. And the reason they did that was cost. For those of you who don't know, Nutanix's NC2 solution, as Michelle just referenced, has a 53% cost savings over going to cloud native. Going directly to cloud native. So versus going straight into Amazon or straight into Azure. Those studies are all out there. You can go ahead and check the details on those. But again, bring consistency and operation to another space. It would typically become a new silo in your environment, and we fully support that and bring that full Nutanix platform into the public cloud as well. So, Doug, I'd like to be able to answer that question a little more specifically, but I would defer to the experts on that one who are engineers in that financial world to be able to answer a specific question. So by all means, reach out to your counterparts at Advisix. We can get you in touch with the right people and help you understand that, or help us understand what you're looking to do a little bit better. But rest assured, the large banks, from the largest of the large to the smallest local credit unions, we have lots of customers across, and you can actually find all these as customer references right out on our webpage.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we have 10 minutes left. I don't see any other further questions. I suppose any closing remarks, if nothing trickles in within the next minute or two, give folks a couple minutes back.
Michelle, maybe you'd like to talk about how people can experience Nutanix for themselves.
That's great. That's exactly what I was going to do. So I
Perfect.
appreciate that. Earlier, I actually had mentioned one of those ways to do it, right? We had talked about that kind of eye-opening experience of somebody getting their hands on Nutanix and having that experience of, oh, this is really easy to use, and they were pleasantly surprised by that. So through that experience, that particular one was a boot camp. So those are opportunities that we can host as your channel team. Advisix can host. We can do that for all of you as a group. And really get in. It's like a lab where you can go in and get your hands and the touch and feel of how Nutanix works, and kind of appease your curiosity there. We can do it specifically for customers. So if there's something where you have a strong interest in Nutanix, and before you make any decisions, you want to go in and really have a group focus on what how operations work, we can do that too. So lots of different ways in that boot camp setting that we can offer that out. We also have on our website our ability to do test drive. So you can go in and walk through step by step, kind of a curated experience of our feature sets. Lots of capabilities just from the basic AOS and AHV all the way up to our AI. I think Move is out there. So if there's some curiosity around how that functionality works, you can do that as well. And we have demos. Advisix has the capabilities of doing and running lab experiences as well. So make sure that you're reaching out to Advisix for that experience as well. And of course, anything above and beyond that might be outside of what I've just spoken to, reach out to Advisix and in turn reach out to Nutanix Field to let us know what we can provide. I guarantee you there is a resource out there. We have obviously our website and what am I missing, Ron? I'm trying to remember.
I was just going to say for all the the nerds on the call, I use that affectionately, right? If anybody would really like to dig into the details of how Nutanix actually works, go to nutanixbible.com. Nutanix has always believed from the very beginning of putting all the secrets right there on the internet for everybody to find. We believed that the direction we were going with architecture was the right direction and the way the entire industry should move rather than keeping everything secret, right? So Nutanix established nutanixbible.com. It's written by our principal architects. They do a fantastic job of keeping it up to date. You can go ahead and learn all the details about how storage works on Nutanix. How do we create snapshots? How do the writes work? How do we do replication or whatever it might be? It's all there in the Nutanix Bible. I'd encourage you to go take a look. And there's lots of good links that go out to YouTube videos that show all of our features. If you're not already checking that out, Nutanix University on YouTube is a great way to just consume bite-sized knowledge of whatever feature it is you want to look at. You want to learn how to migrate a virtual machine. There's a 2-minute YouTube video that shows you exactly how to do that. So lots of options out there for learning. But again, work with your Advisix counterpart, your team at Advisix, and they know of all these solutions. Be happy to walk you through that and help you arrive at what ultimately will be the best solution for you and your company. And again, Nutanix believes in choice. So if we find we are not the right choice, we will more than readily admit that and say, this is not the right platform for you. Maybe you're too small, right? Maybe it's too large. You've got too many apps that don't really work with Nutanix. We'll be very forthcoming about that. Nutanix is always all about the honesty on the other side of that choice. So.
Yeah, and I think just to put a bow tie on it, I don't think you could have the net promoter score like you do by doing what's one consider wrong, right? In terms of like, you want to be successful, you want to provide a great successful experience and support experience on a stable platform with a very desirable outcome. So let that net promoter score be a symptom of your recipe. So
great point, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
There's no other further questions. I think we'll call it a wraps. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Ron. And Tori, back to you. I don't know if there's any, I think you had the Patagonia, I think a couple last closing remarks maybe from Tori.
Yeah, thank you all so much. That was great and very insightful. I appreciate all of the work that was put into this. Yep, as I said earlier, I'll just go ahead and send another email to you all confirming your address to receive your Patagonia jacket. And once I get confirmation from you, then I will be sending that your way. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you all so much for being able to join. We really appreciate it. And we
Right.
look forward to hosting you again.
Wonderful. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.